Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever True Heel Heat Sports. This is True Heel Heat Sports number 1. This episode is going to be focusing on football, where we'll be talking about all of the news of the week and some interesting top 10 lists that came out when ESPN asked different insiders from around the league to see who they thought were the best of the best at different skill positions. If this is your first time watching, and well, it probably is because this is our first video on this channel, my name is John. I'm the Stat King. I'm joined by my co-host for today, Romeo, True Heel Romeo. We are part of the True Heels. Now, normally you would see us covering the wide range of things such as wrestling and UFC and a little bit of boxing. But here on this channel, we are going to be talking about sports. We're going to be talking about basketball, football, baseball. It's going to be a lot of the same cast of characters that you've seen on True Heels. They will be here, but we will also have other people who will be joining us who will be from the wide range of sports and different fans of different teams. So it's easy for me to talk about what my favorite team is, at least for football. It is the Denver Broncos. I have my Super Bowl 50 championship hoodie on. Apologies to the Carolina Panthers. Well, Cam Newton was just a little scared during that game. But let me throw it over to my co-host. You see him on hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of different shows on True Heels and around the wrestling YouTubes. He is the True Heel Romeo. He is the MVP of the True Heels. Romeo, what's going on today? And at least you've got one team that we can easily identify for you.
Jets, just end the season. Wow, this is fun. StatKing, me and you don't do too many videos together often, so that's fun too. And this is a fun adventure we're going with a THH Sports. The only thing I love more than wrestling is sports. I am a sports fanatic. I watch it all. I watch everything. We cheated a little with the True Heel Heat Wrestling channel where we would do UFC streams and boxing streams. And now we got our own channel for sports. Do all the sports right here on THH Sports. I'm excited. I am a Jets fan. So, I've been through a lot of pain and suffering. But I also got the Yankees. They gave me so much joy in my life, the Yankees. I'm a Rangers fan. I got one championship in my lifetime, at least. I'm a Knicks fan. Oh, they've given me nothing at all, as have the Jets. So yeah, I got a lot of struggle. I got a lot of, it's a mixed bag for me as far as all the sports go. I'm excited to talk football. I do have a soft spot for the Cincinnati Bengals because they do have my favorite player in the NFL, Joe Burrow, because I am a LSU fan and college football. Maybe we could get into that too on this channel when college football starts getting around. But yeah, the Giants. I don't mind the Giants, but they're very annoying now recently. So I think I'm cut off from all Giants. I think I'm just full Jets.
For baseball, I am a Yankees fan, but I dabble more in baseball when it comes to that. I just happen to have relatives in New York, and I used to come up to New York every summer as a kid, and Long Island, Queens was the area that we would go and visit. But you don't really, we'll leave the Queens baseball team to Chris. I always was the Yankees fan. And with basketball, I was told, even though I watched a lot of Golden State Warriors, that when I did pick a team, if I picked the Golden State Warriors, it would be bandwagoning. So last year, I decided to go with another great three-point shooter because that's really all I love about basketball is people who can shoot threes from insane distances. And that's Dame Lillard from the Portland Trailblazers. So until he leaves, which he just re-signed a contract, I'll be a Trailblazers fan. And when he leaves, I was worried for you. Trust me, I was worried for you.
I thought he was going to get traded. But
look, at the very least, I'm happy for the man. 2 years, $120 million. You can't be that mad at that. Sometimes people, they come to a realization maybe you're not going to win a ring in your career, so you at least try to get paid. And I'm sure he probably have the ability to avoid that second year if things don't work out. But he's a very loyal guy to Portland. I can't fault him for that.
So I got another question for you.
Sure.
I became a Jets fan basically through my father. My father's misery became my misery. How did you become a Broncos fan?
So I became a Broncos fan because my parents are immigrants. I'm first generation. but we didn't really grow up watching a lot of sports in that sense. So when it came to football, I gravitated to individual players. And the player of my choice was Peyton Manning. So for a very, very long time, like 11 seasons, I was a Colts fan. But then they unceremoniously released him because they thought Andrew Luck was going to lead them to the promised land. And we saw how that worked out for him. And Denver said, hey, we need a quarterback. Very similar to how they have their current quarterback. And they signed him. And the rest, as they say, is history. 4 AFC West Division championships, 2 AFC conference titles, 2 Super Bowls. We don't talk about the first one. And after he decided to retire, I said, you know what? I like how Elway rebuilt the team in a very short amount of time from the aforementioned Super Bowl that we don't talk about to the one that they ended up winning. And I liked how he was able to shift things so quickly to acquire defensive pieces that I decided, let's just stick with this team for the long haul. I'm not trying to, shop around for other teams or anything like that. I'll be a Broncos fan after they showed loyalty to my guy. I will show loyalty to them. And Elway has since proven an inability to draft quarterbacks or develop quarterbacks. So that's why we've languished in the pit of despair that we have been in for so long in a division that has seen the rise of Patrick Mahomes and most recently Justin Herbert. But now the guy who beat the Broncos in that Super Bowl,
that's crazy,
has now come over quite famously with my girlfriend. I have fiance, I should say. I've repeatedly trashed Russell Wilson for years and the Seahawks in general, because she's a big Russell Wilson and mainly Sierra fan, and so now I'm forced to say, hey, as long as it works out, I'm happy with the trade. So
you don't have a soft spot in your heart for the Colts even after all that fandom. You're actually mad at them. So are they like a rival? Like you actively root against them now, or is there
I wouldn't say that I root against them. I mean, if the Broncos and the Colts are playing, it just adds that extra. I want them to win over any other week that the Broncos would be playing a non-division team. But I mean, if the Colts do well, I mean, I just think of it like, hey, you're playing in a building that this guy basically paid for through his blood, sweat, and tears, and then he needed you to stay by him when his neck was all fucked up, and you guys said, no, we're going to try out this Civil War looking general dude, and then he retired on you. So
that's always weird when your favorite player doesn't get treated very well by your organization. I'm hoping that's not what's going to happen with Aaron Judge and the Yankees in this upcoming offseason.
No, I don't think it will. I think they'll figure out
I think so too.
a point that is right for both people. And that's really what I should also add with my overall love of football, is that while I do love the sport itself, I have a very keen interest in the aspect of team building and how general managers, you have a salary cap that allegedly is a hard salary cap. The Saints have found ways to completely destroy this notion that there's a limit to how much you can pay people. And I like to see how teams put together, how general managers, how scouting departments, how they look at players, develop players, how they put it all together and say, this guy versus that guy. We can target both in free agency, but that's the one we want. Or they look at the draft and say, this is going to fill this hole in this specific way when it comes to how we're building the team. And that overall presentation. I mean, I love to see just a ridiculous, it's like 75-yard touchdown pass. Who doesn't? But for me, I like to see what was the thought process that went into putting these 11 guys on offense, these 11 guys on defense, and who are our backups. So that's for me, my true kind of appreciation for football. And the high school that I went to has an incredible track record of history when it comes to producing NFL talent. It's St. Thomas Aquinas down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And we'll be talking about some of the guys that they have produced when we get to some of the people on this list. But it's a who's who of people in the NFL. Every time the Patriots have won a Super Bowl, it's made my heart hurt. But the only thing that made it hurt a little bit less is that James White, St. Thomas Aquinas Raider, was getting a Super Bowl ring. So yeah, guys, let's get into it. And we're talking about a guy who some people thought had a chance at a Super Bowl ring, and then it all blew up on him. And it's just a crazy, crazy situation because it's part of a much larger drama of events. We are, of course, talking about Baker Mayfield being traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Carolina Panthers. Now, there's so many levels here, and of course, Romeo is going to have a interesting angle to take on this, considering who Baker is probably replacing when it comes behind center for the Carolina Panthers. But after Deshaun Watson had his whole exodus from the Texans, that exodus involved him moving to the Browns. The Browns now have a situation where they have two quarterbacks, well, three if you count Jacoby Brissett, but they know that Watson probably is going to miss some games. The question is, do we want Brissett or Baker as the backup? They decided, well, we're going to go with Brissett. We're giving him all the first team reps. Baker is not reporting to camp. There's clear issues after all of the close but no cigar seasons that the Cleveland Browns have had. And they decided, we're going to look for potential buyers on Baker Mayfield. Anybody who thinks he can be some kind of a rehab project. The Seahawks were a team that were heavily in the list or in the running for where Baker could land, especially after they traded Russell Wilson to the Broncos. So the question was, man, Pete Carroll really loved Baker Mayfield. They wanted to draft him back when he was available in the draft and train him as the kind of heir to Russell Wilson, or a breaking case of emergency for Russell Wilson, which kind of gives you, not to go on a tangent, but it gives you a little bit of a glimpse of how long the Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson relationship may have been fracturing, that Pete Carroll was willing to get the next guy when Russell was still really in his prime. Not to say that he isn't now, but they had a chance now to get Baker, and it ends up being the Panthers. But of course, the big issue is that hefty cost. Baker Mayfield's contract for this year alone is about $15 million. And the deal that was going to go into place had to involve teams sharing the revenue. No team is wanting to take a $15+ million salary cap hit for a player that they're not 100% sure on when it comes to confidence level, when it comes to whether or not he can get the job done outside of Cleveland. So the Browns knew they were going to have to take on some kind of that amount of that salary cap hit. The end result is that the Panthers are only paying about $4 million this year in salary. The Browns are taking care of about $10 million, and there's a $5 million kind of incentive bonus structure if certain things are met on the field by Baker. The trade itself is also involving a conditional pick that starts at a 5th round pick. If certain things happen, it can move up to a 4th round pick. So, Romeo, Twitter, as always, is undefeated when it comes to this world that we live in. And some of the things that we have seen some people do, either really, really happy that Baker Mayfield, no pun intended there with Happy Corbin, that Baker is now on the Carolina Panthers, to people being a little bit less enthusiastic about Baker Mayfield now being on the Panthers. So I want to ask, because, and the other kind of elephant in the room, it would be the fact that Sam Darnold, $18 million this year, is or at least was the current quarterback for the Panthers. Now they're paying an $18 million backup. That's similar to what the problem the Niners kind of wanted to have with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. But, if there is an elephant in the room, speaking of Sam Darnold, he probably wouldn't see it because he sees ghosts instead. So my question to you is, what do you think about the Baker trade from the Browns' perspective? And then what do you think the Panthers are getting? Because they have Darnold there, and it doesn't seem like it was working out with Darnold, but maybe there was hope for him.
This is so interesting from both perspectives. First, the Browns' perspective. they clearly know or expect Deshaun Watson is not going to play at all this year. Well, how do they clearly know or suspect that? Look at Deshaun Watson's contract. All of his money is not in this year. He's getting paid like the least they could pay, what, like 1 million, I think,
1 million
at least. Yeah. So they know the hammer is coming, rightfully so. Rightfully so. Roger Goodell should suspend Watson for the year, and there should be some kind of fine in there on Watson that affects his money too, because the Cleveland Browns can't get away with that. Putting all his money in the next couple of years, they can't get away with that. It's very petty. It looks bad. If you have to suspend them games next season to get at his money, so be it. You got to find a way. NFL has to find a way that Deshaun Watson, suffers financially as well. So you got that going on. And Baker Mayfield, you figure you'd want to hold on to him. He gives your team a much better chance to win than Jacoby Brissett. No disrespect to Brissett. It's just the way it is. But Baker Mayfield is pissed off. He was loyal to you and you were not loyal to him. You went to go get a new girlfriend and you just said, you dumped him to the side. You dumped Baker Mayfield to the side. And Baker Mayfield has to play for a contract this year, for next year. And listen, the Browns, they've taken a step backwards offensively. I think he's going to have a much better a chance playing for a contract in Carolina. I think he's going to have more success in Carolina. Baker Mayfield, you can't have a lame duck quarterback that is mad at you starting for the whole season. Like, that's how do the fans get into it? Like, how do they cheer somebody they know is going to be gone? Like, it's like what do you call it? A mercenary?
Yeah, and
yeah, like, I don't know if you can't have a mercenary that hates you, that hates your guts, that hates the organization. So they have to go their separate ways.
God forbid he did well. Then you're running into the problem of, should we have just kept this guy, not even bothered with Watson?
Which I'm not sure he's going to do as good as previous seasons. They got Amari Cooper there now, but what do they have after that? Besides the run game, which the run game will always be good.
It's Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's mainly the receivers after.
Not good. I have more faith in Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrence Marshall, and Christian McCaffrey if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy.
Yeah.
Big if. As far as the Panthers go, I understand it is an upgrade over Sam Darnold. It's hilarious because you have the two of the top 3 picks from, the 2018 draft on the same team. And you also have like interception mania. Like, these two throw the most interceptions over the past however many seasons. 1 and 2 is Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. I don't know if it's in that order, but 1 and 2 is those two. So there are going to be a lot of interceptions in Carolina, no matter who's starting. I think it's an upgrade for the Panthers. I don't see that team doing much though. I can't trust McCaffrey staying healthy. Terrence Marshall is a big fan in LSU, but I don't know if he can bring it at the next level just yet. DJ Moore is good. Robbie Anderson, that meme, that was hilarious. It's like Robbie Anderson, like, what he wants, not picture. We didn't show it to you. There was an Instagram post where there was a rumor of Baker Mayfield going to Carolina, and Robbie Anderson commented, "No." It's like, oh man, I'm sure they'll get off to a great start.
Yeah, they asked him, after the Baker trade, they were like, "Well, how do you feel now?" And he was like, "Well, I was just saying that to be supportive of my quarterback." Which I was like, "Oh,
okay,
boy.
buddy, okay, pal."
It's crazy because he was just thinking about retiring as opposed to coming back for another season.
Wow.
Which is incredible because you would think that he has the most rapport with Sam Darnold because they both were on the Jets together.
Listen, Sam Darnold had his chance last year to prove that the Jets was just a failure and the Jets just couldn't put enough talent around him. So he went to the Panthers where there is substantial talent, and the results just weren't all that good. Sam Darnold is a backup quarterback in my mind. A good backup quarterback. That's a good backup to have. But a starter in the NFL with so much talent around, I don't think so. I think Baker Mayfield's better.
It's it's gonna be kind of fun to watch from an outsider looking in. Neither of us have any vested interest in the Carolina Panthers, so it's gonna be a fun division to see, because that is a division that is just it's kind of all over the place with the. The only constant is that Tom Brady is going to be having a fun time with.
Tom Brady looked at the quarterbacks in that division. I was like, "Why the hell am I retiring? I'm coming back."
Because who do the Saints have? They're going to be rolling with Jameis Winston. Who do the Falcons have? They're going to be rolling with Marcus Mariota, as they let that Ritter kid with Desmond. It starts with a D. I think it's Desmond Ritter. Sit for a while to try to make sure that he really is going to be their quarterback of the future. And then there's going to be Tom Brady, who's just got, this great defense, this stacked offense. Sure, he loses Gronk, but that's fine.
Depending on your views of Baker Mayfield, you could make an argument that 3 of these 4 teams have a backup quarterback starting, depending on your views of Baker.
Yeah. There's an argument that could easily be made. Baker was somebody who was in a lot of people's top 10s at this time last year, including my own. And man, Baker tumbled out of that. Just showed that he cannot get the job done right now. And
now, to be fair, he did have was it a completely torn labrum or?
I think it was, yeah.
Oh, okay. So we give him a little bit of slack there, but we've seen Baker Mayfield anyway over the years. He has underperformed.
Well, and the thing is that while the Browns may not have given him the best of receivers, and he could not establish rapport with Odell, Beckham, he had one of the greatest, actually probably the greatest 1-2 punch in his running game in the entire league. Other teams would kill themselves to get or kill other people or kill somebody. Somebody's going to die as a sacrifice to get Chubb and Kareem Hunt on their team. And you would think that in a division that has such high level firepower on a lot of different teams, that a team that is a powerful ball control offense would be able to find ways to work the clock and make it work for them. That's part of the recipe behind the Baltimore Ravens' success. So it's kind of weird to see.
And he also had a solid defense.
Yeah, it's Myles Garrett, who we will be talking about. It's kind of interesting to see that they just could not get the job done. And man, it's gonna be that division is gonna be a fun one, especially when we talk about the predictions. I mean, the predictions part of it is gonna be really, really easy. I don't think either of us are gonna pick against the Bucs to win the division when we do our division by division series. But that series is for another day. What we need to talk about is somebody who is getting the job done, even though he has not had the greatest of quarterback play, and that is Scary Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders. He just signed a 3-year. The Washington Redskins.
Never heard of that team.
Who just signed a 3-year extension with Washington. It is a 3-year, $68.3 million deal with $53 million guaranteed. My goodness. Pay that man right now, because he is easily the best thing going on that team. He has managed to produce with decent to downright horrible quarterback play on that team. And now he's being paired up with the great Carson Wentz to see if they can get the job done in Washington. Romeo, as a I guess, no longer Giants fan. I guess we can't really call the NFC East one of your divisions anymore. But
I'll always follow it closely, because Giants games are always played in New York. Sometimes they're on the same time as the Jets, sometimes they're not. And if they're not on the same time as the Jets, I'll check out the Giants and see what they're doing.
At least it makes the Snoopy Bowl pretty easy for you to root for whenever it does happen.
Snoopy Bowl, a preseason game.
But this is a guy who has been, to quote Chris Collinsworth, here's a guy who has been very dynamic as a playmaker, is the best player on the team, at least on offense. You can make an argument for Montez Sweat or Chase Young on defense. But this is a team that has been kind of in flux for some time, and locking down, at least for 3 years, their best receiver is a pretty good move. And one of the conversation pieces around this is Ron Rivera, the head coach, talking about how important it was for the organization to step up and make this deal and show that they want to stand behind the good players and stand behind the people that are going to make the difference, because it gives inspiration to the other guys to be like, hey, you want to get paid, do the job. Do what we're asking you to do. And that's something that McLaurin has done. What do you feel about this pick? And where would you rank him kind of in the NFC East wide receivers?
Fantastic move. You got to lock up your young talent, especially your very good young talent. Terry is a top receiver, I would say, in the NFC East. Oh,
yeah.
Let's see here.
He's better
than anything on Philly. He's better than anything on Philly. Yes, better than anything on the Giants. The Cowboys. CD Lamb. He's better than CD Lamb. He's the best in the division. Best in the division. Right.
And
that's with the quarterback play he's had. That's with that.
Yeah. That's really the argument, because I would have put CD Lamb over him, but you have a very good point that he is producing with horrible quarterbacks. Like we got people named after beers throwing him the football, and he's still
Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, still managing to pull off touchdowns and incredible rack yardage. So
he's had Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's had Dwayne Haskins, R.I.P.
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, correct. And in his 3 seasons, 919 yards receiving, 1,118 yards. Last season, 1,053. He doesn't get in the end zone too much because, it's Washington. They don't get in the end zone too much. But he's worth paying. And also, I want to say a top 10 nickname in the NFL, Scary Terry. That's a cool nickname.
For sure. So those are our 2 big kind of news segments for today. What we are going to now switch to is a series of top 10 lists where ESPN sent out polls to all 32 teams, and they got answers back about who they thought were the best at different positions. And because of how ESPN is starting their release of these lists, we will be talking about the kind of people that Baker Mayfield and Terry McLaurin go up against, because we'll be starting with the defense. And starting us off is the top 10 list of safeties. This one is, I'm a little proud of this list because of who's number 1, but I actually probably wouldn't have put him as a number 1. So,
and by the way, this is all free safeties and strong safeties.
Yes,
combined.
Yes. So this is number 1, Justin Simmons, Denver. Number 2, Minkah Fitzpatrick in the Steelers. Number 3, Kevin Byard for the Titans. Number 4, Derwin James, the Chargers. Number 5, Budda Baker, the Cardinals. Number 6, Jesse Bates for your Bengals. Number 7, Harrison Smith, the Vikings. Number 9, Marcus Williams with the Ravens. I jacked up the number count, but Antoine Winfield with the Bucks. And finally, number 10, Jamal Adams with the Seahawks. This is an interesting list to me. I probably would have put Minkah Fitzpatrick over Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons
look at that non-biased take.
Yeah, Justin Simmons has done incredibly well for Denver. They paid the man. Like we were just saying about Terry, you got to pay your people. That's not somebody that you want to have leave the building. You don't want to be running the risk of franchise tags either. You want to know that you've got him under contract. But I think Minkah Fitzpatrick brings something to the Steelers defense that, as much as Justin Simmons is by far the leader of that secondary, Minkah Fitzpatrick is just all over the place when it comes to his playmaking ability on the field. One of the quotes that I wrote down is Minkah Fitzpatrick is the leader of the entire secondary. He controls all the checks, all the calls, controls everything. An AFC defensive coach said, here's the catch. He can play man-to-man, but he's not elite at it. He can blitz, but he's not elite at it. And I think that's really important. That last part is that he doesn't need to be elite at every single thing that he does. What he needs to do is be somebody that they can count upon and rely upon. So if somebody gets past TJ Watt, you know that Minka's there. And if somebody, if TJ is coming, if you know TJ is going to be getting double blocks or he's going to be getting chop blocks or whatever the case may be, you can use a safety blitz. It doesn't necessarily need to work every single time. It's that threat. It's that pressure that Minka brings. I think that Kevin Byard is a kind of a sneaky choice at 3. I didn't think that he would be somebody that a lot of them would give a lot of love to, but at the same time, these are the insiders. These are the best people. These are the best scouts, the best coaches looking at this and seeing who they would pick. Derwin James is somebody that I think is interesting because that's the guy who has not been able to stay on the field recently, and that is kind of a drawback for him. Budda Baker on the Cardinals, he's just got to worry about that offense collapsing in the back half of the season. There's not really that much that he can do about that. Harrison Smith is kind of an unsung hero on the Vikings defense. He's been there for so long. Guy's like 33 now, I think. And man, that's somebody who has had to go up against one of the best quarterbacks in the league year after year, 2 times a year, and has still been able to pull off some great plays. I think it's kind of hilarious that Jamal Adams has now fallen down the list to being
Don't get me started.
10.
He should not even be on this top 10 list. He is not a top 10 safety anymore. In fact, he is. What a steal that Jamal Adams trade was for the Jets.
Before you get started, all I'm going to say is there was a list of honorable mentions, and one of the ones that I thought was kind of cool was Honey Badger. I think Honey Badger should be 10 instead of Jamal Adams. All right, go for your Jamal Adams take.
What a steal the Jets trade was. All those draft picks they got for Jamal Adams, and he stunk it up in Seattle. Stunk it up. He is not a top 10 safety anymore. As far as the safety list goes, I feel the Buffalo Bills, not just the safety list, but the list we're going to get into in a few, got shafted on these lists. They got shafted.
Yeah.
They have 2 of the best safeties in the league in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Jordan Poyer should be on this list, I think. Definitely Honey Badger for sure. Yeah, you could have put any one of those guys over Jamal Adams at least. Poyer was first team All-Pro last season. So how is he not a top 10 safety? Also, I believe Tyrann Mathieu was in the Pro Bowl. How is he not a top 10 safety? So I have some problems with this list towards the end of it. Like, those are names that should be on the list. I think Byard of the Titans is the best safety in the league. So at least he's on the list. He's 3rd, but he's on the list. There you go.
What do you think about Jesse Bates being on there for the Bengals?
He's good.
Because I forget he's not part of the reason why they got torched at the very end of that because they had to rely on the kicker guy for that conference game.
Right. Jesse Bates definitely belongs on the top 10. Top safety in the league. Agreed. Big part of that Cincinnati Bengals defense. And we'll get more into that defense on these lists.
Yeah. And guys, let's go from our safeties talking about our cornerbacks, who are usually guys who get the most flash in the NFL. They're also some of the ones that famously talk the most trash talk. Richard Sherman being famous at that back in the day. And number 1 on the list is somebody who also is pretty good when it comes to making headlines. And, well, that's not part of the reason why he's number 1. But the reason why he is number 1 is why he does that trash talk. It's Jalen Ramsey of the Rams, followed by Marshawn Lattimore of the Saints, Jair Alexander of the Packers, Xavier Howard of the Dolphins, J.C. Jackson of the Chargers, Denzel Ward from the Browns, Pat Surtain II of the Denver Broncos, Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens, A.J. Terrell for the Falcons, Trevon Diggs. Now, the honorable mention that I liked here was Tre'Davious White. And again, this is the Bills getting shafted when it comes to this defense talk. But man, I was kind of surprised by JC Jackson being as high as he was. The secondary for the Chargers is not something that I usually think about for them. I'm thinking more of the guys up front, particularly people we'll be talking about soon. And the other is AJ Terrell for the Falcons. I think he's in his second season. And he's going into his third season right now. But the thing that I wrote down for him to kind of shoot him some bail on this is he gave up the lowest completion percentage as the nearest defender of anyone on the field, allowing 30 receptions. This is AJ Terrell of the Falcons, cornerback. So allowing 30 receptions on 73 targets for 297 yards and 3 touchdowns. According to Next Gen Stats, his 0.6 yards allowed per snap were the lowest in the NFL among outside corners with at least 300 coverage snaps last season. And one NFL told me it counted Terrell giving up 1 explosive play in man coverage all year. What's more, the 2020 first rounder did all this on an Atlanta defense ranked 26th in total defense and 29th in scoring defense. So, I mean, if we're going to shoot the guy some bail because he's not as well known of a name or he doesn't have the resume or the track record, is that he is standing out on a defense that is absolutely abysmal. But on the flip side, it seems as though if you basically just do your job, you're going to stand out on a defense that's absolutely abysmal. So I kind of like the list outside of the JC Jackson where he was placed. But what are your thoughts on this top 10 list for cornerbacks?
I don't have too many gripes with this list. I personally think Xavier Howard of the Dolphins is probably second behind Ramsey, ahead of Lattimore and Alexander. JC Jackson is probably ranked a bit too high, I agree. Although he probably is top 10. Trayvon Diggs, listen, I know he gets a ton of interceptions. I know. That's great. That's awesome. But for every interception he gives up a long one.
There's still a little bit of a Giants fan in you.
No, listen, man, he gets burnt a lot. He'll get you the interceptions, but he also he'll interceptions and then most yards given up. Like it's give and take, I guess. I agree about the Bills getting shafted again here. Tre'Davious White is absolutely top 10 quarterback. I know he got hurt last year. He got a torn ACL in week 10. But if he's on the field in that playoff game against the Chiefs, there might be a different outcome in that game.
Yeah, and the playoffs. The only thing I'll add for this when it comes to the Pat Surtain is a guy in our sports chat who's a Chicago Bears fan kept asking me after the draft whether or not I was upset that the Broncos took Pat Surtain over Justin Fields, his quarterback, and his new quarterback. And so far, I'd say it's working out pretty damn well, considering Pat Surtain is in his second year as a cornerback and his 7th in the league, according to people in the league. So it's working out all right. I mean, we have to, they have to give up the farm for Russell Wilson, but if it works out, it works out. That's my mantra when it comes to that trade. So let's turn now to our edge rushers. And man, we in that same sports chat, we have a really, really big Steelers fan, and he is going to be happy to see who is number one. It's kind of unanimous, I think. It's TJ Watt. TJ Watt of the Steelers has been a game changer for the Steelers. His ability to make plays, his ability to get past an offensive line is really incredible. And after him, the hits just keep on coming, because after that, it's Myles Garrett of the Browns. And then we have back-to-back Bosa brothers, both of St. Thomas Aquinas High School, Nick Bosa on the 49ers and Joey Bosa on the Chargers. After that, we have Max Crosby of the Raiders, the former Broncos Super Bowl MVP Von Miller, now on the Bills after his turn on the Rams. Chandler Jones, who recently left the Cardinals to join the Raiders. Brian Burns on the Panthers, Khalil Mack, who left the Bears for the Chargers, Cam Jordan on the Saints. The two honorable mentions here that I liked were DeMarcus Lawrence and Chase Young. Now, my thoughts here is that this is also, to me, a very well put together list. The rankings came out pretty much where they should be. I probably maybe would have moved Von Miller actually a little bit lower, maybe just one spot, just because his playmaking ability is kind of dropping down a little bit, but it's still the threat, the pressure that he brings that allows the guy on the other side.
Wait, Von Miller was on this list? What number was he? 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would have moved him down to like maybe 7. Because to me, it's not that he's getting the sacks, it's more that you have to double team him, and that's freeing up the guy on the other side, which is
that's
very
fine
important.
though. Like edge rushing is not just about sacks. Don't be blinded by it's just about sacks. If you create enough pressure that disrupts a play, that is a successful play. Or
that's
where
that's where Trayvon Diggs gets his interception. Because DeMarcus Lawrence, audible mention, gets that pressure.
Yes, there you go. And if you create enough pressure where someone else gets a sack, that's a great play.
My only other main takeaway from this list is, man, I think we got to save the AFC West division breakdown for last. And I'm not saying that because my team is in the AFC West. It's because out of 10 people in this top 10 for edge rushers, 2 are from the Chargers, 2 are from the Raiders. This is going to be an incredible season for the AFC West. We've got Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack together on the Chargers. And then we've got Max Crosby, who's been taking the league by storm, and Chandler Jones, kind of a quiet veteran nowadays, who was doing some really good work with the Cardinals on the Raiders. This is going to be a fun division to talk about. But what are your thoughts on this division, and who do you think was kind of left out, if anybody?
Yeah, that division, clearly these GMs knew the quarterbacks are the stars of the division, so better load up on the defensive line. That's going to be your best shot at combating these amazing quarterbacks in that division. As far as this list goes, listen, I know Chase Young did not have the best sophomore season. In fact, he got hurt. And only played 9 games. I still have faith in him, though, that he is a top 10 edge rusher. Missing from this list was Shaq Barrett of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shaq tied Nick Bosa and Trey Hendrickson with 75 pressures last season. He's had 37.5 sacks over the past 3 seasons. He is the Tampa Bay's best pass rusher, and Tampa Bay has one of the best defenses in the league. So that's a big question. He wasn't even in the honorable mentions, was he?
He was.
Okay, he was. At least he was that. All right. A name to look out for that is forgotten because he got hurt in preseason last year is the Jets' Carl Lawson. He was an absolute menace in Cincinnati. I was hyped to see him on the Jets, and he got hurt in a practice scrimmage with the Packers. Tore his Achilles. So look out for him this upcoming year. If he's 100% recovering from that Achilles, he will be a force to be reckoned with on the edge as far as the edge goes.
Yeah, this is usually where teams make their bread and butter. And speaking of Shaq Barrett, that's, we're talking about team building. It was not too long ago that he was on the Broncos, and they had to just make a decision as to who they were going to pay, and they said, we can't afford you. Like that's just how it works. And he ends up on the Buccaneers, and he gets that Super Bowl ring. And that leads us to
this stat. Only TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Aaron Donald have sacked the quarterback more over the past 3 seasons over Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, it's. I really wish they had been able to keep him. That was one of the big missteps that Elway has had since that Super Bowl team was assembled. But where
was Myles Garrett on this list?
He was number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Watt, Garrett, Bosa, which is basically like those are the best guys. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And it's the same way when we get to eventually when they release the defensive tackle list, it'll be Aaron Donald and then everybody else. So, and that leaves us with our last top 10 that we're going to talk about today, and that is your inside linebacker. We have Darius Leonard of the Colts. I'll get to that later, but Micah Parsons of the Cowboys, number 2, Fred Warner of the Niners, Devin White for the Bucks, Roquan Smith for the Bears, Demario Davis for the Saints, Tremaine Edmonds for the Bills. Finally, the Bills getting some love. Bobby Wagner for the Rams, Levante David for the Bucks, and Jordan Brooks for the Seattle Seahawks. So for this list, I thought that it was interesting that Jordan Brooks is on here. He is a pretty young player, so that's definitely going to be somebody to watch for them. I think that was one of the reasons why the Seahawks were comfortable with Bobby Wagner leaving, because they were like, look, we got this guy a lot cheaper, a lot younger. Let's develop our next generation of Legion of Boom, so to speak. Roquan Smith being on here is kind of cool because he was somebody who was touted as a really big draft pick for the Bears, and he didn't seem to have worked out just in the beginning, but now he's starting to really develop into the player that I think they saw when they picked him. I felt like Micah Parsons should have been number 1 as opposed to Darius Leonard, but I guess, I mean, I'll concede to the people who know better than me about this sort of thing when it comes to people who are watching the league from a different perspective, that team building perspective about who they would go for. But I thought it was pretty telling that here is where the Bucks have 2 people on the list, because their linebacker core is on the interior. That is probably their best strength when it comes probably their best strength when it comes to the defense. I don't remember now if Ndamukong Suh is still on the team. I'd have to check that one out. But that's on the line. But here on
he's a free agent still.
He is a free agent. Okay. Here on the linebacking core, that interior, that's what really put pressure on Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. They were some of the ones who were coming up and just disrupting the hell. And that's part of the reason why you have people like this able to do that. Is honorable mention Shaq Barrett getting that outside, forcing those tackles to move. That's making sure that your different guards have to deal with these linebackers coming in. And Devin White has been killing it. Even he's also a very young talent who is going to be with the Buccaneers for a while. So, Romeo, what do you think about this list, and who do you think got snubbed, if anybody?
Hold on, I was lagging there for a bit. Yeah, I could see Leonard, Parsons. I would put Parsons number 1 too, but it's not that huge thing to argue about. Devin White is my guy. Oh my God, he's going to be amazing. LSU Tiger. What a draft pick. What a draft pick. He is so good. Jordan Brooks. I don't know much about Jordan Brooks, honestly.
Yeah, he's
top 10.
He's super young.
A name that might have been snubbed is Eric Kendricks of the Minnesota Vikings. He had a career high 143 combined tackles in 2021. And it could cover too. His pass coverage grade was ranked number 10 among linebackers last year. So a big part of being a linebacker is covering too, pass defense. CJ Mosley, I'm a little biased for the Jets. I think should have got some consideration. Was he an honorable mention? No, right?
He was an honorable mention.
Oh, okay, he was. At least he got that. CJ Mosley, a lot of people forget about because in 2019 he took off for he got injured, and 2020 he took off for COVID. So he took 2 years off practically, and he just came back last year. I expect him to be really good this year with a much improved Jets defense surrounding him. We could be talking about him next year making the top 10 list again.
Yeah, so the lowdown on Brooks is he is going into year 3, 24 years old. He had 10 tackles for loss, 5 pass deflections, and 184 total tackles, which was second in the league. He is, their NFL coordinator said he is outstanding in the run game and one of the most explosive hitters in the game. They're saying that his deficiency is pass coverage. So that's something they're going to have him work on, because that was one of the things that made Bobby Wagner so good, was his ability to pursue and figure out where pass is going. It says he rushed the passer 58 times, but on those rushes, he produced 43.3% win rate. And his 37.5% run stop win rate ranked 11th in the league among linebackers. So it seems he's maybe, like he could be a smart choice for being in the top 10. But yeah, it looks as though he's going to be somebody who is ascending. And Eric Kendricks was also a honorable mention as well.
There you go. All right. So I'm not going to create too much of a fuss over Jordan Brooks. Maybe that's just one guy I got to keep in mind to look at going forward.
Yeah. So let's see. We're going to be having in a next couple days, we'll be seeing the lists for
kickers, punters.
Yes. Tomorrow is interior offensive lineman. July 11th. This will be a fun conversation. We start with offense because we're gonna really start with offense because we're gonna have our quarterbacks July 11th, July 12th running backs, wide receivers July 13th, tight ends 14th, and then July 15th offensive tackles. So next week when we get together for THH Sports and we talk about football, that's gonna be that's the real debate. That's gonna be the fun back and forth.
Listen, I'm not too hyped to talk about offensive linemen, but hey, all those other stuff. Where are the kickers or punters? Where are those? Come on.
Listen, it's the Bengals kicker. Well, actually, no. It's Justin Tucker, the Bengals kicker, then pretty much everybody else.
Oh, I'll take McPherson over anybody. And by the way, Cade York out of LSU, he's the Browns' new kicker. Watch out for him. That boy's bad man too. Well,
that'll be something that will be taken into consideration.
Why are we talking about kickers now? That's
my You got us on kicker talk.
We're just gonna have to do our own list if they won't do it.
Yeah, that'll be something fun that we can do. But guys, like we teased earlier, we'll be coming out with a division by division breakdown of the schedule, who we think's going to win each division. Romeo is infamous, if you know him in different chats, of going all the way down to breaking down win-loss record. I like to do that too. So we'll be giving you guys some really fun content to argue with us over the next coming weeks as we build up towards the start of the season. But Romeo, tell the people where they can find you, my good sir.
Follow me, True Heel Romeo, on Twitter and Instagram. Over on the True Heel Heat Wrestling YouTube channel, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, watch-alongs of Raw, NXT, and Dynamite, as well as the Fightful Overbooked YouTube channel where we do True Rewind and discuss Raw and Nitro from the past. And right here on True Heel Heat Sports, I'll try to get in on every conversation we're having, every video here. Basketball, baseball, football, sports is my passion. We're going to do some live streams too, where we could hear from the comments while we're talking about everything. And we're going to do some watch-alongs whenever we can of big sporting events. So this will be fun. Thank you for subscribing to THH Sports. We appreciate you.
Absolutely, guys. We appreciate all of the support that you guys give us across our many channels. And you'll be able to catch me here on THH Sports on the football side of things. I'll probably jump in here and there on the baseball and the basketball. My specialty, at least in my mind, for basketball is I'm going to be the idiot member of the audience who is asking the dumb questions when it comes to basketball. So that the questions you guys were afraid to ask because you're like, I should know these things. That's going to be me because I don't know these things and I have no problem asking them.
That's fine though, because it adds an interesting perspective that not too many people can have. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time, guys. And you can always catch me on True Heels, our wrestling page, covering Dark Power with AEW Dark, Elevation, NWA Power. We're trying to bring back Fusion of Honor. We cover AEW Rampage with myself and the True Draw Josh. I cannot, and if you guys are new to the channel, to this channel, and are going to be subscribing, just you guys wait. I'm just going to give you a tease of Josh and Romeo having fun baseball conversations and little arguments here and there. What do you? I'm sure you're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're both fans of the best team in baseball, though. So,
yeah, I think everybody Chris isn't. I don't think Sid really has a baseball team, despite living like quite literally like a stone's throw away from Yankee Stadium.
I think he claims Yankees. I think he does. Why wouldn't you? It's the
only smart decision.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you share with all your friends and family. So until next time, I am the Stat King. He is the True Heel MVP Romeo, and we will catch you guys